We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain, we ain't giving up no tree, we ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another round of exciting debates today. I am Ms. Carlita Charles. I'm the Parliamentary Executive Officer of the Parliament Office, and I'm the coordinator of the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker could not be here this morning, but he will be joining us soon enough. Today, our esteemed judges for the competition this morning are our Chief Judge, Dr. Valerie Gurusamy-Smith. Dr. Gurusamy-Smith has been an educator for over 42 years at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. She has been a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher. We usually don't find the two together. For a very long time, over 35 years. Dr. Gurusamy-Smith is the director of the Berea Royal College International and has been in the pastoral ministry for over 21 years. She is a two-time winner of the University of Guyana's Interfaculty Debating Competition and is also the founder and coach of the course, Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Our second judge, Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson. She is an alumni of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana, both history and law, University of the West Indies, international relations, the American University of Peace Studies, psychology, and the Caribbean Leadership Program. A former multidiscipline national athlete, table tennis, and basketball, her sport credentials include Olympic certification in sports administration, World Anti-Doping Agency certified doping control officer, and Guyana's first and only level 2 female table tennis coach. With a professional background in journalism, education, international relations, business management, community development, and coaching, quite a mouthful, she serves as the Assistant Director of Sport at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. Our third judge is Mr. Rayon Miller, a former youth parliamentarian and best debater of Youth Parliament 2018, so Mr. Miller is quite familiar with this territory. He was also the senior counsel of the winning team at the Caribbean Court of Justice International Law Mooting Competition in 2019. Mr. Miller holds a Bachelor of Law degree and is a second-year law student at the Wooden Law School. Miller is also a member of the Caribbean Airlines Parkside Steel Orchestra and founder, creative director of the Pan Jazz Concerts. Our teams for today. The proposing team for this debate is the Anna Regina Youth Group, joining us virtually. This group is based in Region 2 and is composed of a team of young, vibrant, intelligent members led by Faraz Baksh and focuses primarily on youth development and advancing youths for the development of our country. Their first speaker is Mr. Amar Budram, 20 years old, from Mainstay, Essequibo Coast. The second speaker, Ms. Aliyah Griffith, 20 years old, from Devonshire Castle, Essequibo Coast. And the third speaker, Ms. Priscilla Alfonso, 19 years old, from Hampton Court, Essequibo Coast. We have the pleasure of the other team, the opposing team, joining us physically in person here in the chamber, the CAS Talent Management Youth Group. CAS Talent Management brings together talented young people who are contributors to the arts and entertainment industry in Guyana. Founded by Mr. Kamisi Slow, a long-standing contributor of the arts and a community leader, the organization scouts and markets talents both locally and internationally. CAS Talent Management volunteers and hosts an annual seawall cleanup activity. The group's accomplishments include gaining the Junior Soca Monarch title in 2021 and 2022. Their speakers. The first speaker, Mr. Osei Clark, 20 years old from Albertown, Georgetown. Second speaker, Mr. Juvan Sampson, 27 years old from Hatfield Lodge, Georgetown. And the third speaker, Miss Crystal Wills, 22 years old, Westminster, West Bank, Demerara. Our moot for today: financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. I'll read that again. Financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. I now declare this debate open, and I call on the first speaker from the proposing team, Mr. Amar Budram. You have the floor. Mr. Budram, we're not hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Greetings, Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition. I rise as the first speaker of the proposition for to convince you that, and I quote, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans for youth for investment, end of quote. Therefore, my team and I are here to convince you that the motion is in our favor. Investigative defines the term financial institutions are called banking institutions that provide financial and monetary transactions. Oxford Dictionary defines investment as an action or process of investing money for profits. Presently, recording at the commercial interest rates at three major banks range between 12 to 16.25%. However, interest rates mean spending in consumers' pocket results in consumers purchasing more and borrowing more actively, sparing the demand for household goods and services, and add benefits to financial institutions, which enables to lend more. Mr. Speaker, bring your attention to my first point. The difference between a 12% to 16.25% on loan versus a projected 5% on loans are as follows. The rate of interest charged on loans, depending on the type of loans, which are unsecured without collateral, carry a higher interest rate, while secure loans backed by assets carry a lower interest rate. An interview conducted on 8th of April 2020 with the loan officer, which stated that the lowest interest rate offered to secure loans are 12%, and unsecured range from 13 to 16.5%. This is quite difficult for young investors to afford, given that they may have limited securities, and the risk for banks to lend them results in increased interest levels. Mr. Speaker, isn't it better to have a lower interest rate at 5%? Secondly, Mr. Speakers, members of the opposition, most economists state that low interest rates benefit stock market investors because their share prices are based on projected cash flows that are discounted using current interest rate. With low interest rate, youth may be able to pay back loan on time and be able to sustain their families. If low interest rates in Guyana encourages investment, project cash flow rises, and lower discount rates are more investors value the stock future cash flow. Both consumers and small businesses alike benefits in low interest rates. Invest Guyana dated 26th of May 2020 in an abstract title, Youth and Investment, and I quote, consumers have more disposable income to spend on necessities and desires, while small businesses profit from these large increased sales, end of quote. Members of the opposition, aren't profits the main goal of what businesses depend on? In addition, members of the opposition, for youth, loans are much more attractive, especially in long-term variety. On them at this point, they use their long-term saving. Youth will also able to refinance some of their existing debts under more favorable terms. If they want to reconstruct their business, then this is the perfect time to do so. Snapshot from the Central Bank Guyana dated 16th of October 2020, and I quote, business expansion and growth becomes easier during this period. This is the right time to take out loans to finance your growth with cheaper loans, also allowing you to keep existing cash reserves in high interest deposit and accounts. Isn't it wiser to borrow at a lower interest rate rather than using your savings? Finally, Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition, taxpayers should contribution to Guyana's state revenue paid by the government on workers' income and businesses. Low interest rate of 5% can impact investors immensely. Dated 17th of January 2020 in an article titled Small Businesses. In the bill, the government of Guyana gave Guyana Revenue Authority the right to use a promiscuous method to determine taxable income on businesses with sales less than $10 million. The idea behind this assessment method is to capture revenues from businesses that fly under the radar screen, and businesses most likely to do so earn less than $10 million. An abstract published by Guyana Revenue Authority on their website, like corporate taxes to be paid at 40% for profits gained by commercial businesses, end of quote. Higher interest rates often can be at the banks, but the higher interest rate will have an impact on businesses versus effective 5% interest, which would have less taxes to be paid, and investors are able to make larger profits, which enables more investment and production. Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition, we with you driving ambition, have ideas to establish our own businesses. Don't you think that we need a lower interest rate? After all, it would help Guyana's economy in terms of cash flow. Then I must reiterate the rule, and I quote, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans for youth investment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Budram. I now call on the first speaker of the opposing team, Mr. Osei Clark.
Pleasant good morning to one and all, honorable judges, members of the proposition, everyone present, everyone on the live, everyone viewing this, my team, ladies and gentlemen all, I greet you by saying good morning. For the moot today, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. I, as the first speaker and the youngest member of my team, I'm a youth, and I can assure you that we stand firm and strong against what is said here. Reason being, I must first establish who we will be giving these potential 5% to, all right? Now let's talk about youth. According to the Oxford Dictionary, a youth is defined as the age between childhood and adulthood. Now what does this mean? Now sometime when you're a youth, that means you're still pondering between maturity and childishness. Now, what usually helps to get rid of childhoodness, right, is what we could call licks, all right? Now, let me tell you where I'm heading with this. As a youth, planning an investment is often, invented, what I would say, by persons that, not even me. My friend might come up with an idea, and I might just want to follow him. My parents might come up with an idea, and I want to go with them. Or it just might be youthful exuberance. I might be watching TV, see a documentary, a big businessman. I want to be just like he, and I fall into the business. Now, what this does, it discourages someone from doing a proper feasibility study, as in, what can I do? What can I not do here? You're just excited, and you're just going with it. Now, that is the youthful part. For example, as a youth, certain things are within you, deeply embedded within you. For example, let's say sex, all right? As a youth, that is something that you crave. Although you might be mature in certain areas, I want to go to work, I want to do this, I want to do that. Sex will always be there. A matter of fact, as a youth, I'm here doing this debate. Get what's on my mind right now. Okay. Moving on, by keeping one standard rate, okay, the youth pay this, the adults also pay this. What it does is encourages the youth to, say, all right, since the stakes are higher, I must more so work harder. My partner, Mr. Sampson, he will go into some more nitty-gritty on that later on. But what I'm showing you here, Miss, you can understand this, you know? You've played table tennis, you're competitive. Whether you're a 5-year-old or you're 100 years old, you want to compete at the Olympics, you have to compete at a certain standard. And you as a youth, going into investment, thinking that, okay, by doing this, by getting a secret edge over the older folks, I might be able to get that edge. But in order to come up to par, you have to be swimming with the sharks, okay? Robert Kiyosaki, in an interview entitled The Biggest Mistakes Young People Made. It's on YouTube on the Rich Dad channel. It was showing on TV a few days ago. I was watching it. All right? He said, one of the biggest mistakes young people make is they like to follow. All right? Now, he is involved in a certain type of business. When he started, as soon as he was finished with university, him and a lot of his friends, they went into that because he was very influential on them, you know? For example, I'm the junior Soko monarch. I'm influential in my friend group. Now, my peers may want to follow me. Okay, I want to invest in a house. Now, all my peers want to invest in a house, right? But me, because this is something that I want, I will do all the relevant studies and so to get into it. But them, on the other hand, they won't do it because they just, following me. That is why, by raising the stakes, young people will be like, oh my goodness, I can't do this because the stakes are so high. Maybe he can handle it because this is what he wants to do. But what if this is not what I want to do? Okay, and that is a main thing I would like to establish among you guys. Now, as I was saying before, what persons can do, in order to curb this, what we call strain on young people. Because yes, young people are innovative. We are innovative. We are very creative. I can tell you that. All right? What we can do. Financial institutions, right? Persons should go more to financial institutions since your child is small and, do a little trust fund for them on the side. Because once you do that, they might get the money, right? Once they grow up, they want to invest, they got the money. Now, when the loan is there and you got to pay your 10%, your 12%, your 16%, because you already have that trust fund, you can get into it and say, you know what, let me just pay the extra. So, as I close off, I would like to urge you that we should strive for equal rights between young adults and mature adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I call on the second speaker of the proposing team, Ms. Aliyah Griffith. Ms. Griffith, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today I'm presenting as second speaker of the proposition to article reaching our motion. Guyana's nation, where approximately 6.1% of our population are youth, according to the conducted by the labor force of Guyana. In 18 November 2021, it was reported that 53% of them are currently unemployed and have no employment income and is financially dependent on their parents, resulting in a clear financial strain in households across Guyana. I cannot overemphasize that due attention needs to be paid to this segment of the population, ensuring both their development and growth, as well as their participation in national development. Having a low interest rates, specifically targeting youths, it makes investment finance by borrowing more attractive. With lower interest rate, investment gives us relatively better return because the cost of borrowing is low. The majority of the Guyanese population will be afforded the opportunity to better their livelihoods by having a 5% loans for investments. This will lead us to establishing and operating income-producing projects and businesses. It has been proven in other countries, such as the United States of America, that in lowering the interest rate on loans for investments significantly boosts economic movements within the country in which we have a dire need. Having an interest rate of 5% on loans used for investments would result in an increase of numbers of small businesses within the local Guyanese market, allowing better competition within the market. We often hear about competition. We understand the concept and its importance, but after all, what is the real impact on people's life? Efficient functioning market presumes the existence of free competition, greater competitiveness means more productivity and better quality products and services. Businesses can satisfy their consumers and consequently attain a better position in the market. This market grows steadily. Consumer benefits from lower prices and comprehensive goods and services. After all, is this not what the consumers of Guyana deserve? Furthermore, youth of Guyana the opportunity to make this a reality? Madam Speaker,
Interest rate of 5% on loans to youth farmers will not just benefit the youth of the country, but the nation as a whole. Loans increase circulation of money and will increase the national gross domestic product. A growth in the national gross domestic product has various advantages. And these include, firstly, a higher gross domestic product implies the country's producing more goods and services in which consumers can enjoy. Human welfare is linked to consumption and growth will benefit the society. Higher levels of consumption will help to reduce any incidence of absolute poverty. This is not so obvious in developed countries, but for developing economies such as our own, economic growth and rising incomes play a big role in lifting people out of poverty. Secondly, a rise in the national gross domestic product leads to higher investments in public services and higher domestic products. The government will begin to collect more on taxes. This is because a rise in income, people can spend more. And if they spend more, there will be more in taxes and VAT. This is government will be, it will be beneficial to the government because the increase in the revenues can reduce local government borrowing and spending, and the government will be putting spend more on public services and investment in the country's infrastructure. Investment in public service can help to improve long-term performance of the economy. For example, better infrastructure enables a lower cost of trade. Therefore, growth can cause a virtuous cycle of higher investments leading to higher growth, which enables more investments. Thirdly, higher economic growth can also reduce unemployment rate in the country. Higher economic growth will also lead to an increase in the demand of labor as business will be producing. Therefore, unemployment will fall. This has various advantages, such as lowering government spending on benefits and address social problems, and reduce in the crime rate, in which Guyana was placed 8th highest globally. So, Mr. Speaker, and members of the opposition, in light of this information, I strongly believe that 5% on loans used for investment is not only beneficial to the youth of our country, but Guyana as a whole. And should we not want this for our country, I rest my case.
Thank you, Ms. Griffith. I now call on the second speaker of the opposing team, Mr. Juvan Sampson.
Ms. Carlita Charles, esteemed judges, members of the proposition, viewers logged in, good morning and blessings to all. I am Javon Sampson, a serving member of the Guyana Police Force and a member of the CAS Talent Management. Now, my team and I were blessed with being on the opposition side for this year's debate, with the moot financial institutions should offer a 5% interest on loan to youth for investment. My team and I strongly disagree with this moot. Now, I must start off by first defining the word loan. According to the Oxford Junior Dictionary, a loan is defined as money an organization lends or somebody borrows. Now, reason we disagree with this is because youths having a 5% interest would be an advantage against mature adults who are paying more than that. Now, according to Google and a number of financial institutions within Guyana, the average financial interest rate ranges between 11 to 16%. Let's say perhaps a youth take a $5 million loan. He or she would have to repay a total of $5,250,000, which is $250,000 than was applied for. Now, a mature adult takes the same $5 million loan. That mature adult will repay $5,800,000, which is $750,000 more than he or she applied for. In our society today, there's a lot of youths with small businesses. Joshua Edwards, who's the owner of Wendy's Pizza Parlor, he used his small business to pay his school fees. Iona Premo, Guyana's national dancer, she now is the owner and the founder of Queen P Hair Care Products. Not forgetting Jeremy Garrett, Guyana's national footballer who recently started his delivery service. These are all youths with small businesses striving to meet the top. With these youths, we have mature adults with similar small businesses heading to the same financial institutions for that same loan. We have Mr. Roman Jabbar. He started his fruit business as a fruit vendor. There's also Mr. Anand Khan, who started a grocery shop. And not forgetting Miss Melissa Payne, the former Miss Guyana Universe, who is now a beauty consultant. Honorable judges, these are all persons applying for the same loan. Now, put yourself, honorable judges, in that mature adult shoes. You're applying for a same loan with a youth. And the youth is getting a 5% and you paying an 11 to 16%. Wouldn't you feel cheated? Wouldn't you feel that you're being put at a disadvantage? Honorable judges, members of the proposition, keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. Everybody in today's society should be treated fairly and equally. I'm sure many young people knows of the famous Aishana, the Jamaican dancehall artist. Everybody is aware of her song, Equal Rights and Justice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sampson. The final speaker of the proposing team is Ms. Priscilla Alfonso. Ms. Alfonso, you have the floor.
Madam Speaker, esteemed judges, members of the opposition, greetings. I pledge no offense to stand as third speaker of the proposition. Esteemed judges, first, let us take a journey to the future of this country. First, from an economic point of view, and I quote, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to you for investment, unquote, since it serves as a provision of financial services for every citizen, including youths, and thereby contributing a great deal to economic growth and innovation. As Guyana's economy continues to grow, small businesses have been the lifeblood because entrepreneurs have been allowed to create meaningful jobs and foster local economies. In addition to Guyana's economic development, youth will be encouraged to expand on their investment and build their self-esteem. That is youth empowerment. To elaborate on my first point of Guyana's economy, it stretches over a wide range of topics, including economic development, foster employment opportunities, and great benefits of youth empowerment. Without further ado, allow me to highlight that a low interest rate of 5% on loans to youth would stimulate economic growth and by making it easier to borrow money to finance youth investment in both physical and financial assets. For instance, creativity and the development of entrepreneurial skills through training and mentorship. It is a fact that youth would put forward their ability in their investment. It simply means more money spending in consumers' pockets, and they will be willing to borrow more to expand on their business, whether it's a small business. Additionally, it spurs demand for youth and the economy. A recent research done at 5 shipping companies across Guyana on last Thursday stated that in 5% of youth are shopping online and retailing these items to customers. It was discussed in several interviews that these youths use their little savings money. Therefore, it is mandatory that financial institutions should offer 5% interest to loans for investment. Such a vibrant fact that evidence opposition can't really deny such a fact. Furthermore, I hereby define it from a low interest rate that simply means paying at a lower value rather than large sums. This will contribute to investment as it will continue to lead to a strong economy, and more resilient youth will contribute to young entrepreneurs. Thus, it brings me to my second point of fostering employment opportunities. Financial institutions play an important role in youth learning and gaining to gain access to training and education to build their self-esteem and foster and create jobs for others. Based on statistics from Guyana Daily Times publication Article 57, it is an evident fact that 70% of large-scale business owners were once youths, while others inheritance or other. Madam Speaker, taken from Article 45, it is fast that youth are individuals with great thinking capacity and modernized business innovation. Do we really want to deprive our youth of the ability to execute their plan of process. Thirdly, some critics may opine that youth will be inexperienced but with knowledge of investment. We must highlight youth's ability to grow and develop and use their capacity. In addition, research conducted on the Ministry of Education page recorded that approximately 7,000 have graduated, influence that they have been graduated with practices, and I reckon that financial institutions should offer 5% on loans for investment. Therefore, shouldn't we give them a chance to rise against the occasion? Mr. Speaker, my fellow members of the opposition, my team and I have made a solid case for you and chosen why financial institutions should offer 5% interest on youth for investment. And our country is strong and resilient economy for our country's development. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alfonso. I now invite the final speaker of the opposing team, Ms. Crystal Wills. Ms. Wills, take the floor.
Good morning, Ms. Charles, acclaimed judges, members of the proposition, and to our audience who are watching virtually. My name is Crystal Wills, and the final speaker of the opposition. According to the moot, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. For a start, my group, Cast Talent Management, completely disagrees with this statement, and I have an important argument which supports our point of view. Let me remind you of the definition for the word interest. According to the Oxford Dictionary, interest is the money paid regularly at a particular rate and for the money used and for delaying the repayment of debt. According to Google, a financial institution is a company that focuses on dealing with financial transactions such as investments, loans, and deposits. As I start my objective, I will be quoting a loans officer from GBTI, Ms. Joseph, who said, and I quote, "Every new customer pays a 16% interest rate, while regular customers pay 14% interest rate." According to Bureau of Statistics, Guyana's current population is 775,790, with 199,060 of the population being youths from ages 18 to 34. Now let's give an example. Let's say a youth goes to a financial institution, perhaps GBTI, to borrow $1 million loan for investment. With a 5% interest rate, that youth will be paying $2,000 per month, along with the 5, 10, or 15% from the principal amount. Now, if a mature adult goes to borrow that same $1 million with a 16% interest rate, they will be paying $6,400 per month, along with the percentage from the principal amount. The difference the mature adult would be paying from the youth would be $4,400. Now imagine if 199,060 persons from our population were to pay a 5% interest rate on loans. What money would those institutions be making? Keep in mind that these institutions expect persons to pay an interest rate in order for them to make money and to give back the money they borrowed from their other customers' account. Members of the proposition, while you might say that youths are the future and are bound to be creative and innovative in the world of business, it is also important to remember that these institutions would not be making any profits, and this would destroy them, since that is their very purpose. And this can also cause them to face higher funding costs and may be tempted to take on more risk. Additionally, a Starbucks News article on October 31st, 2021, titled "Business Review" by Teron Kimraj states, interest income on loans is the largest component of bank income. For example, in 2020, the banks earned a combined total of $31.1 billion in interest income. Think about if youths were paying a 5% interest rate, then a figure of such wouldn't be. In fact, it would be much lower. In a nutshell, honorable judges and members of the proposition, what I'm trying to say is that financial institutions should not offer a 5% interest rate on loans to youth for investment, simply because it wouldn't be profitable to the economy, and perhaps they should be paying the same amount of interest as everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wills. And there we had it. The Anna Regina Youth Group versus the Cast Talent Management Youth Group. We will allow our debaters a 5-minute break in order for them to prepare their rebuttals. During that time, our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, will remind us of the rules of the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. The rules of this competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member should be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposition, followed by the first speaker of the opposition, and shall alternate in this order. The time allotted for each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 5 minutes. Second speaker, 4 minutes. Third speaker, 4 minutes. And 5 minutes for the rebuttal. The rebuttal will be done by the first speaker on each team in the order of opposing, then proposing. No new arguments or material shall be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be first rung to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there will be a final bell when the time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes, but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for the following: reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, attitude to opponent, development of argument, and cohesion. In closing, the judges' decisions are final. Good luck to each and every one of the participants in this year's Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. Over to you, Ms. Charles.
Thank you, Mr. December. I believe we have a few more minutes for the debaters to prepare their rebuttals. The Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Mr. Manzoor Nadir, is here and will now join us for the remainder of the competition today.
We are a peaceful people. Struggle is we struggle, and we don't look for trouble. Just ask around.
Thank you very much, co-moderator. And let me apologize for this morning, to say a warm welcome to the two teams as they conclude their rebuttals. The CAS group and the Anna Regina group. And to all of our judges are returning judges from last year. Okay.
We ain't giving up no tree. that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice bread, not one caress, not a blade of grass.
Hear the rebuttals. Interesting, very, very, very interesting arguments presented this morning from both sides. Compelling arguments. But it's now going to come down to the rebuttals. For the opposing team, Jose Clark Cash Talent Management Youth Group. Jose, it's going to be your turn for the rebuttal.
Honorable judges, I greet you again. Mr. Speaker, it's great having you here. Members of the proposition, members of my team. I'm here to present my rebuttal. For the moot, financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. Now, need I remind you that my group stands firm and strong such a notion. And like I said before, reason being, youth and adults should be able to be on the same level since we want to talk to youth empowerment. I'm going to deal with that in a little bit. Now, for the first speaker on the proposition team, Mr. Boudram, most of his points, he was talking about we are issuing loans for investors. Government will be benefiting from investors. The businesses will be benefiting from investors. Now, first thing I want to let you know, we're not just talking about investors. We're talking about youth investors, okay? Basically, what it means is that 12 to 16% that is usually paid will not be going for youth. So let's separate it. Youth will be paying one thing, and the mature adults will be paying the next thing. That's the first thing I'd like to get out of the way, all right? Now, your second speaker, she was really, emphasizing about the government and how economically the country can benefit from this, and when you drop the loan and all that. What I would like to tell you, like I clearly stated in my first presentation, all right? When you carry it down to a certain level, youth, we have a very childish mind. With less stakes, we get involved. If we know we're not following a bus we had, we get up and we run. Same thing here. If we got to pay something lower than the mature adults, everybody will be doing one thing. And like I said, youth have a very follow pattern mindset. I am a youth, I can tell you. For example, Cricket Carnival coming to Guyana. One youth might get a bright idea. Okay, I'm going to set up a hotel. Because foreigners will fly in and then come to my hotel and enjoy themselves, right? And next youth might see, it's only 5% like the one to. Next one, it's only 5% like the one to. Everybody set up a hotel, all right? Now, this bring back to my memory a movie I watched called Bruce Almighty. Now, stay with me. With this guy, Jim Carrey, he was given the power of God, right? And he decided, you know what? Let me just give everybody the lottery numbers and everybody gonna win the lotto. When everybody win the lotto, no one end up benefiting because you know what? There's no diversity there. Everybody end up getting $2 from the lotto. $2 alone. Now if everybody set up a hotel because everybody following everybody happy, right? Now if everybody put up a hotel, nobody won't get enough money. Everybody can get little bit, piece money. And what can the government tax you if you're not making a lot of money? So you see how the government can't benefit from that, the government all the way. Now the financial institution, they can't benefit neither because number one, you don't make enough money. All right? Now you can't pay off the interest on the loan. Now when everybody set up stuff like that, okay, the diversity is not there. Now when the stakes are higher, you gotta pay 10% now. You gotta put more effort into it. Let me do something that I know could benefit, All right, foreigners coming in, two of them build a hotel, I open a taxi service to pick up the people because everybody wants to benefit because everybody's stakes are high. You got to pay it off. Now, going to their final speaker, her main thing was youth empowerment. I love that. I love youth empowerment. I'm a youth. All right? Now, majority of the youth, since we want to talk about youth empowerment, all of our speakers on the cast talent management team, we clearly emphasize that we're all for youth empowerment. But in all the youth empowerment that we are rooting for, okay? Everybody gotta get equal rights. One to the adults empowerment. They can't get empowered too. And why the youths can't pay off that so much amount of sum? We don't even have a check or a child. We can afford to work and pay it off. Enough adults probably don't get 10, 20, 30 children already. And now they gotta work to pay off that huge 16 to 12%. Now youth, we could do it. We strong since we offer youth empowerment. And she also talk about, okay, youth can save up money and all that. I clearly stated that we can do that through the trust fund. Parents can do that through the trust fund. Now, I want you to see right here, when you drop it for the youth, because remember, youth are more than adults in this country. No one is able to benefit, not even the youth. I rest my case.
And let's hear the proposition rest their case as Amar Budram takes the floor. Amar, are you ready? You can start now, Amar.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the opposition, finance all. Interesting, but let me raise a few points that have not quite been cleared enough for my team and I to understand. First of all, the first speaker of the opposition would have highlighted that, and I quote, that yes, he agrees with youth empowerment. So why in the first place that the member of the opposition would have disagreed with us having an empowerment for youth when he stated that youths are childish and cannot have a good vision for running a business. Mind you, as your third speaker would have said, finally, depending on their appearance, resulting a clear financial strain for households across Guyana, which one of the members of the opposition would have raised that increase in unemployment would have an impact on a proposition having employment as one of our points. Another point which one of the members of the opposition would have stated that the opposition is really focusing on banks, which makes larger amounts of profit. But how can we forget that there are adults too that also borrow loans? In addition, we need to look into particularly at the mood that says financial institutions should offer 5% interest loan for youth for investment. Therefore, we stretch on our youth and the economy. Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition, one would have stated that presently the banks would have had an interest rate of 11 to 16%. But however, Mr. Speaker, bringing attention to my first point, which there is a difference between a 16.25% interest versus a 5% interest loan, which are depending on the banks, which would offer more finances at lower interest rate, which would benefit both the bank and businesses as a whole. Now, look back on what evidence that I have provided is that Invest Guyana 1826 of May 2020, the national criteria for investment, and I quote, consumers have more disposable income to spend on necessities desired, while small businesses profit from this level of increased sale. Isn't this helping the economy? Another point which would have had highlighted from the proposition side would have been an abstract in the central bank dated 16th of October 2021, and I quote, businesses expand growth becomes easier during this period at low interest rate. This is the right time to take out loans to finance their growth with cheaper loans for allowing to keep our existing cash reserve parked at higher interest rate on our accounts. This, Mr. Speaker, when persons borrow money from the bank at a lower interest rate, promotes more development for youth, which you have an increased level of passing in the CXC levels in the business catalog. Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition, An abstract published by Guyana revenue authorities would have said that corporate taxes would be paid at 40% from commercial businesses and the food. The higher interest rate currently at the bank would have higher taxes for consumers to pay versus a 5% interest rate where businesses would have less taxes to pay. And however, this would have an increase in production and more investment. Mr. Speaker, members of the opposition, I raise as the Speaker of this and I quote, that I must reiterate that I quote, financial institution offer 5% interest on used for investment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. As Amar rests the case for the Anna Regina Youth Group. Just to remind you that today is the third debate in the second annual National Youth Debating Competition sponsored by the National Assembly and the Speaker. And we have already had 2 debates last Friday. We witnessed 4 teams facing off. Those were the Golden Youth Organization and the Young Professionals Youth Group. They were the winners from last week. I want to congratulate all of the groups who are participating in this year's competition. As I mentioned earlier, we have the Port Kaituma Youth Group. We have there are 16 teams in this year's competition. Port Kaituma Youth Group, Queenstown Youth Group. Today, the Anna Regina Youth Group is on. The West Bank Young Achievers, the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group, Young Professionals Youth Group, Grove Diamond Youth in Development Group, Burbies Development Youth Group, Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization, number 58, Swing Star Community Developer Group, Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space, Bartika Youth Group, Madhya Youth Group, Linden Superstars Youth Group, Cast Talent Management, Cummings Lodge Youth Movement, last year's winner. So those are the 16 teams. 2 have already been eliminated last week. We've had a very, very, very informative debate so far as our judges tabulate the final scores. I want to welcome online the Speaker from the National Assembly of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Bridget Ansett George, who has joined, and we have also sent the link to all 50 odd members of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. So youth groups, you're on around the world, not only friends and family and Guyanese, but from wider field. To remind all today's judges, our Chief Judge is Dr. Valerie Gurusamy Smith, who is an educator and having 42 years in that field from the primary, secondary, and university levels. She has been a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher for over 35 years and an English lecturer at UG for 20 years. Our next judge, returning again, is Miss Dow Richardson, an alumni of St. Stanislaus College. She read for History and Law at the University of Guyana, International Relations at the University of the West Indies, Psychology at the American University of Peace Studies. She herself is a former multidiscipline national athlete. I still have to challenge her at table tennis. She played table tennis and basketball. Our third judge today is Mr. Rion Miller, a former youth parliamentarian and best debater of the Youth Parliament in 2018. He is also the senior counsel of the winning team at the CCJ International Law Moot Competition 2019. Mr. Miller holds a Bachelor of Law degree and is a second-year student at the Hewarding Law School. So those are our judges. I'm just checking with the judges to see how they're coming. They're still deliberating. The two groups today, Anna Regina Youth Group and Cast Talent Management Group, and the moot. The moot for today was financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investments. Again, as I said, very informative presentations and compelling arguments on both sides. It's a very difficult task. I'm very, very, very impressed with the presentations I've seen so far, well prepared, and I want to congratulate both teams today. This afternoon, we have two other teams participating in the competition, and that will start at 2 p.m. this afternoon. This is the Speakers National Youth Debating Competition. It's the second year we are holding it, and already it's starting to heat up on social media. I want to thank all the groups for spreading the link, the information, and stimulating the youth colleagues around the country to join, to listen, to cheer on each other, and more particularly to see what our young people throughout Guyana are doing in their own areas. Last year, the Cummings Lodge Youth Group, after all of the rounds, came out as the winner of that competition last year. And this year, the finals are going to be held at the end of May. At the end of May, we'll be holding the finals. We have quite a few holidays in May that will help to delay the finals, so we had to reschedule and propose a schedule that will ensure we can get the rounds in. But on Monday, the 30th of May, the finals will be held at 2 p.m. Exciting prizes continue to be on offer for the winners, and special acknowledgements in terms of trophies and participation certificates will be distributed to every single participant in the competition. Our judges continue to deliberate. We have groups participating from all regions of our country except region 9, and that will be remedied next year. And we are going to ensure that the competition moves into the region for preliminaries next year, and then we bring 16 teams to the final. But there will be an opportunity next year for many, many more youth organizations to participate. So Anna Regina Youth Group, start preparing, because you're going to have to first get past people in your region before you reach to this level. And Cast Talent Management, you are also going to have to prepare, and every other youth group that are in these finals. Our Honorable Speaker from Trinidad and Tobago is on, and I just want to say that our Speaker National Youth Debating Competition is a preclude and a selection criteria for our National Youth Parliament, which will be held the second week of August. So participants, good performers from this, are going to be selected as youth members of parliament. So this is not the end. Even if you don't succeed in moving on to the next round, the eyes are still on you. So perform to your best. Out of these 16 groups, many young people will be invited to participate in the annual youth parliament. Judges, are we near completion? Judges are near completion. Again, our judges for today's competition: Ms. Gurasamy Smith, educator, debate coach, debate judge; Ms. Dow Richardson, national athlete, well educated, a young professional, and our deputy at the National Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport. And we have young attorney in the making, Rion Miller, best debater in our Youth Parliament 2018. Lots of additions. We're going to have to get a special program for tabulating, and so we can get the judges performing or coming to their decisions faster. Very interesting topic today. And we have the Anna Regina Youth Group and the Cass Talent Management Youth Group debating the mood. Financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. It's a very topical issue, youth financing and concessions for our young people. Having been involved in the Ministry of Tourism, Industry and Commerce, this is not an easy issue to deal with. As we saw from both sides today, the information presented gives very compelling reasons on both sides of this move. So it's not surprising that our judges are having a very difficult time in finalizing their decisions this morning. We also want to make mention of the coaches for these groups, because they don't do it alone. Their parents, colleagues, other mentors do come forward and assist them. And outside of preparing these young people for debating, the issue of team cohesion, interacting with people, listening to other views, the listening part is almost as important as the speaking part. As I normally tell people, to be a good speaker, you have to be a better listener. Chief Judge, our judges are ready. And as usual, let us start with comments from our judges. Judge Miller?
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say congratulations to both teams. It is clear from your arguments that a lot of effort was put into it. So I'll just get into my comments. I had an issue with structure with all of the teams, mainly because in regular debating format, it's customary for the first speaker to introduce his argument and tell us how the other speakers are going to argue. And even when the second and the third speaker comes, the second speaker would tell us how he plans to argue and then argue that point. And the third speaker would tell us how she plans to argue or how he plans to argue and then argue that point. That was lacking. In some of the arguments between speakers, the overall sub-arguments did not complement each other. So sometimes we had incohesion between an argument from one speaker as opposed to the other, and it didn't reflect well on your overall proposition or opposition that you were trying to put over. A general comment I'd like to make: banks do not charge simple interest on loans. And it would have also been worthwhile to argue in this argument your audience as the bank, because the mood says banks should give 5% interest loans to youths. So the banks are the persons who actually give the 5%. So they should be a focal point of your arguments. Most of the arguments focused on the effects of what the 5% would bring, but what incentive does the bank actually have to give this 5% interest rate? Remember, the bank is a business and a profit entity, so you need to tell us why should the bank actually give you this 5% loan as opposed to how the 5% interest rate would benefit the economy. Those were my comments. Overall, I thought it was a good effort, and kudos to whoever wins. Thank you.
Judge Dow Richardson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning to you, to the debating teams, to the Parliament staff, and to everyone who is tuned in online to this exciting activity. I just want to commend the organizing committee for bringing this debating activity back to us. It started last year inaugurally, and we're very happy to have the debate here again in its second showing. Some comments to the teams. We want to discourage reading in debates. It is actually something that you will lose points for. The important thing is that you're able to fluently express yourself and your arguments in a manner that people can hear. So not just reading, but also speaking too fast. And we had some instances throughout this debate today where some of the presenters were speaking a little too fast. So slow down, pace yourself, get your points across, get your articulation across so that people can hear and understand what you're saying clearly. One other issue I want to raise, and that is, whilst we had a representation of research being done and analysis of some of that research, we want to, at your level, at your stage, we want to encourage you to use sources stronger than just Google, right? Get into the material, get into some legislation, get into some research that is not just a flat Google explanation of something. The other point I want to make before passing on to Chief Judge is that it's very important for you to express yourself in a way that people can understand what you're saying, right? So do not be too aggressive, but at the same time, show that passion and confidence. Both teams showed passion and confidence, but sometimes in aggression, a little hostility may come across, and we don't want to make assumptions, right? So just be careful of that, but I want to congratulate both teams. Well done in your presentations, and may the best team win this morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thanks, Judge Richardson. And now for our Chief Judge, Judge Gorsani.
Mr. Speaker, planning team of this excellent exercise that is going on for the second year, I believe it's really enriching our nation's young people. And it's dealing with issues and topics that are current. And I believe we are so happy to hear our young people getting into arguments where they're dealing with concrete issues. Today we were engaged in a topic with financial institutions should offer 5% interest on loans to youth for investment. When we get a topic to debate on, it is important to define your key terms to suit your line of argument. There were areas where certain keywords in the moot was not defined, and therefore it weakens the argument. The proposition could have defined their terms to suit their argument. They had lots of material, they had lots of statistical data, they were dealing with the topic on a very powerful economic front, but nevertheless, they did not spend too much time defining youth. It was a term that was left to us to decide who represents the youth. On the other hand, the opposition spent time defining the term youth and getting into youth. Their weakness was more to the point where the financial institutions and what they represent, and some of the judges did make comments in respect to that. The debate was well received. You gave us points to think about, to ponder on, and put us in a place where we have to draw a conclusion. And we have been able to come up with a winner. And but nevertheless, I pray that you take all the comments into consideration for future debates, future arguments that people are looking out to hear, that are going to be so powerful points to remember. Leave something with your audience to go about and have further discussions. So all in all, it was a good debate. Indeed, some of our speakers were rushing it. One of the points I want to make as Chief Judge, do not pack too many points into your argument that you have to rush to deliver them. When you do that, you're not allowing a development to take place in the argument. If you develop 3 points, make sure that they're well received, they're well developed, they're well supported with examples. So even when you use examples, I am going to support one of our judges who said that you have to make sure that your reference, that your resource is well authenticated. Just to say Google and just to make a slight reference to Sabric News, give the date, give the time. You have to come profoundly when you're presenting points to support arguments or points you're making. So if you go on in life, wherever you go, you have referencing is very, very crucial, especially in the area of debating. After I've said all of that, I would like to congratulate both teams for this effort, both teams for giving us ideas, giving us things to ponder on even beyond this, this final statement. I want to announce the best speaker today for this debating competition. I think it was unanimous among the judges that Miss Crystal Wills is the best speaker today. Congratulations, Miss Wills. And the scores for today for the 2 teams, Anna Regina and Kess Talent Management, the final scores that we have is 72.7 and 84.7. And I will not hesitate in announcing the winner for today's debating competition went to no other than Kess Talent Management. Let's give them a rousing round of applause. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, judges. We're going to have to rush. Cast Talent Management, Ms. Wills, special congratulations to you, and to both teams, congratulations for participating once again in the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. Thank you. See you at 2 p.m. this afternoon for the next competition.